Hi, I'm Sarah, and I'm going to be meeting with Kim today. Kim is a 28-year-old mom who experienced a trauma situation recently. So, Kim and her daughter were at a community playground, and their community has been experiencing an increase in violence lately. And while Kim and her daughter were at the playground, there was a drive-by shooting, and the bullet struck and killed one of the parents that was there. So this has been really stressful for Kim, for feeling like she has to protect her daughter and she has to protect herself, and she's been experiencing some symptoms of trauma. So she's come in seeking some treatment and some understanding about trauma and how it has been affecting her. So, hi, Kim. Thank you very
Hi.
much for coming in today. I appreciate that. I understand that you've been through quite a horrific ordeal being at the playground and witnessing such violence while there with your daughter. You must be really struggling with that. So, I just wanted to go over some of the symptoms that you could be experiencing from experiencing this type of trauma. So sometimes when a traumatic experience such as this, like the loud noise and the person dying in front of you, it really can cause your ANS, your autonomic nervous system, to increase, and it makes you feel like you need to fight or flight. And so you probably that day either grabbed your daughter and ran or went to help that person. It gives you a big burst of adrenaline and you feel like you can really do something in that moment. So sometimes what happens is if you don't burn off that energy or you don't have enough social supports to deal with the trauma that has happened, sometimes that heightened sense of arousal will continue to linger longer than you would think. So I wanted to just talk about how that can show itself to you.
Okay.
The hyperarousal might make you feel like you're always on edge and like you're always ready for that fight or flight if anything were to happen. So you just feel like you always have to watch your back and you're always looking around to see if there's any danger in the area. That's all perfectly normal within your situation. I mean, your community has experienced this violence. There's been a lot of violence there in your neighborhood, but also at the community where you witnessed it firsthand.
Yeah.
Some things that could possibly happen are something like an increased startle response. So things that ordinarily wouldn't bother you, such as maybe like a balloon popping or a car backfiring, that's a loud noise that you would just normally hear in your community. But right now it really triggers you and makes you think like, oh my gosh, somebody's shooting. And it takes you back into that experience that you were in.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt like that?
Yeah, definitely. Like especially what you said with the loud noises, like taking me back. Like I feel extremely frightened when I hear loud noises, or now even noises that aren't that loud. I'm just always feeling scared, and I'm also having nightmares about like the loud noise of the gunshot.
Yeah, definitely. Some other things that could happen, making it difficult for you to sleep could be being on edge and hearing small noises that you would sleep through, and that might wake you up in the night and put you back in the scenario as if you were reliving that experience.
Mm-hmm.
That is something that can happen. A lot of people feel a lot of anxiety after having this kind of experience, and especially to go out into that community again and having to, walk your daughter to school and do your day-to-day errands. Going to the grocery store can be difficult.
Yeah.
It can be fearful, make you fearful to go outside. I don't know if that's something that you've experienced, but it definitely, trauma can lead to some impairments in your day-to-day living, such as being afraid to go outside and staying in more often. Do you have any difficulty with that when you have to take your daughter to school or go run errands?
Yeah, I notice now on our morning walks to school, I'm sweaty, even though it's winter time and, my heart's just racing really fast. And I feel, when I've come back from dropping her off, like I've ran a marathon, I just feel very worked up.
Yeah, these are all really typical responses to a traumatic experience. And like I said, causing that autonomic nervous system to be stimulated and feeling like on edge and like troubles lurking around every corner. I think a good way that we could work together to activate your parasympathetic nervous system, which aids in the calming effects after you experience trauma. It helps you to bring your breathing back to normal, be more calm and centered, and bring you back to like the baseline where you were prior to trauma. We can work on that. There are a lot of different exercises that we can do, breathing exercises. Yoga is really good for that. So I think that there is a lot of ways that we can work on this trauma experience and helping you to feel better and deal with all the emotions and the feelings that you have from going through this.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions about anything I've said?
No, I just think you hit the nail on the head, with everything you talked about. A lot of that is what I'm experiencing after this has happened. So it's just good to hear that this is not something that's like unheard of to you.
Absolutely. Yes. I would love to continue meeting with you and working to get through this trauma. I know it must be really, really difficult for you every day. So let's meet again next week and talk about it.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Diane. I'm working here today with Miss Rebecca. She is 15 years old, and I'm using the same scenario that Sarah had. So Rebecca, she's 15, and she took her little sister to that same community park where the drive-by shooting happened. Rebecca and her little sister witnessed the person being killed and dying in front of them. And Rebecca has been referred to therapy by her parents. Her parents who were not at the park. It's 7:19, so you did 8 minutes. Parents are noticing that Rebecca is extremely irritable.
Okay.
She's getting into yelling and cursing arguments with her parents, whereas you're way more moody than normal. And she's also never going out of the house anymore, whereas before she used to be very social, always going out with her friends. So this is where we're picking up today with Rebecca. Rebecca, thanks for coming in. I know you didn't necessarily pick out to come here, that your parents had you stop by, but I want to say that I think it's pretty cool that you decided to be so open about what you've been thinking and what you've been feeling lately. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Yeah. I know that you've been through something pretty rough. What happened at the park when you took your little sister was pretty terrifying, it sounds like. Good. That was really good.
It was scary that day.
How long was it?
Yeah. We're right on. It's 7:19, so you did 8 minutes. I think you're brave for even coming in and feeling like you can open up and talk to me about it. And if it's okay with you, I want to talk to you a little bit about trauma, what it is, and how it can impact our body and our minds, if that's all right.
Yeah, I'd like to hear about it.
Okay. So trauma is any event where you feel like your life is being threatened or you're watching someone else's life being threatened or even taken. So you've been through a traumatic event by what you witnessed at the park when the person passed away in front of you, and especially in a very violent way. And sometimes the more violent an event is, the more traumatic it can be. And when we go through something scary or life-threatening like that, something special happens to our body to protect us. And we go into a fight, flight, or freeze mode. And that's our body's way of engaging this special system to keep us safe. So our body is saying, run away to be safe, or fight back to be safe, or to just play dead so that you're in as little pain as possible. Sometimes, though, what happens after a traumatic event is that our body stays stuck in one of those modes, and it doesn't go back to our everyday mode. So what can happen is if we're stuck in the fight mode, we can feel annoyed all the time with people. We can feel, kind of like we're on the lookout, like we got to be really keyed up and anxious to keep ourselves safe. You could feel like you don't want anybody bothering you. You don't want to do anything fun or casual or relaxed because you're in the business of protecting yourself and you don't want to be caught off guard. And so it can make you feel annoyed when people interrupt you or try to invite you out to things, or maybe want to play a game with you or interacting with you on social media. It can feel very irritating because it's like your body's trying to still protect you from that threat even though it's gone. Other times, if your body is stuck in the flight mode, you may feel like hiding. You may feel like not leaving the house or going anywhere. You may feel like you have to turn inwards to keep safe. So whereas before, like, I don't know if you're experienced this, but maybe before, if you went to the mall a lot and it felt good to do that and you felt relaxed there, maybe it's not so easy for your body to say, get up and go to the mall, because your body is feeling like it's got to keep you safe from danger. So sometimes when we go through a traumatic event, our body is telling us, go, run, hide to wherever you're going to be safe, and then stay put. And then if your body is stuck in that flight mode, that's where you're going to stay. And then that's what your behaviors look like. Those two things, though, like when we get stuck in those modes, in the fight mode or in the flight mode, they tend to impact our friendships, our relationships with parents, brothers and sisters. Things get frustrating. You may be getting in fights with parents more, with siblings more. Maybe you're having fallouts with your friends. And it can be easy to feel guilty about that, or to wonder, like, what's wrong with me? Who am I? Especially if you're noticing that this is different than how you were before. Would you say that you're going through anything like that right now?
Yeah, that kind of does sound like what's happening. I stay home a lot now. I don't really go out with my friends when they ask me to. And I fight a lot with my parents. That's why they had me come here. We're arguing a lot. There's a lot of yelling.
Yeah. And what was life like before you saw this shooting happen? Were those things happening as well, or what was it like?
I was never home. I was out with my friends all the time.
Yeah. Okay, so you were out and about then, but now you're more isolated, more in the house, more arguing with parents.
Mm-hmm.
So those, to me, it sounds like those could be symptoms that are showing that maybe your body's having a hard time switching back into everyday life mode, and it's stuck in the fight or flight mode. That's nothing to feel guilty about. That's very normal. It's coming from signals from your brain that your brain is sending your body, and then you're living that out because ultimately you're trying to stay safe. You saw something that was tremendously horrific, and now your body's recovering, and your body is doing what it was created to do in helping you stay safe. Sometimes it just gets stuck in gear like a car,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad you're here today. What we can do is, going forward, we can talk about ways to help your body shift gears, to get back into everyday life mode. And one thing that we can do is we can engage something called the parasympathetic nervous system. And that is like your body's relaxation pleasure mode. So like if you're getting a massage, or if you're meditating or doing yoga, this is the system that takes over and helps you feel very relaxed. So what we can do together is we can try to engage that system to try to help shake your body out of that fight or flight mode that it's been stuck in. And just so you know, it can be very difficult at first. Like this may not be an easy or comfortable process. And an analogy that I like to use sometimes is, imagine if this traumatic event is like someone forcing you to drink gallons and gallons and gallons of the hottest hot sauce you've ever imagined. You just had to chug it all down against your will. Okay. And then after that, you try to eat the foods you normally eat. They'll probably taste like crap. It'll probably taste really bad. Like licking an ice cream cone that you used to get all the time is not going to taste as sweet after you've had that hot sauce. And so that can kind of be like the impact that trauma has on our lives. Right after the trauma, it makes everything in everyday life a little bit weird or a little bit off or a little bit more difficult than it used to be. But what we can do is we can take baby steps together, helping you re-experience and relive your life now that the trauma is done with. So there can be like an adjustment period. It may feel weird. It may feel uncomfortable and take time. And I can't guarantee that you will feel exactly like you felt before the trauma, but we can definitely get you to a place where we take your body out of fight or flight zone and into your everyday life zone. And we can even try to engage the pleasure zone, the pleasure system, to help you relax and feel more safe. And this process can look different for everybody. It doesn't mean forcing you to hang out with your friends all of a sudden again, or like making you be best friends with your parents, but we can take little steps to help you feel more confident about yourself so that this doesn't have to shake your self-image. As a 15-year-old girl, you're growing, you're becoming who you are, stepping into your identity. And we want to make sure that even though you've experienced this, you still have a chance to blossom and live a life that has meaning for you, which could take time. But if you're willing, this is a process that we could walk through together. How does that sound?
Sounds pretty good.
Yeah. I know I said a lot. It's a lot of information to digest, but just think about it. And if questions come up, you can let me know. A lot of times people, the way they experience trauma, it looks different for everybody. So some people, like how you're telling me you're feeling kind of angry. You're feeling like you're getting in arguments with your parents. You don't want to be around friends. There are a lot of people, trauma affects them that way, especially seeing something violent and scary and life-threatening. For other people, it looks like them maybe avoiding or maybe feeling panicked. Some people feel very sad. So over time, you could feel differently. Emotions could change. But at least if this is where we're at right now, it sounds like maybe there's some fight or flight things going on, and we can work on transitioning you out of that if that's all right with you.
Sounds like a good plan.
Okay. Well, thanks for meeting today. Thanks everybody for watching. This has been our project. I think we're done, Sarah.
I think so.